if it's two very important and high placed monks, then they are obviously going for some very important event.
One monk might be dropping the other monk back to his monastery after an event.
Okay, that is little far-fetched analytical observation. The question was, when these two senior monks, heads of monasteries, are traveling together, you have to consider their context and background. There are two heads of monasteries and there are two monks. Their coming together is normally not a regular phenomenon. That perhaps you may not know. Like even in India, the current well-known public gurus like Amardanandamayi and Sadhguru, they may not come together on a stage. Maybe if the Prime Minister invites them, something like that. Otherwise, it is very unlikely that they are to be together. That is okay. I just asked
in the sense they might have had some interaction prior. So the journey is actually a journey.
Either to or from. Yes.
Huh?
Either to or from.
Yeah, no, they have been somewhere together and had some interaction, and then they are now returning home, rather than heading to an event. So
why do you say they are returning home? There is no data thus far that they are returning home. But that's an analysis.
Yes, just
why do you say it is returning home? Any other possibility?
One is heading to an event.
Yeah. All right, okay.
Which
there are the two
mentioned.
possibilities.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, they were going to another monastery.
Okay.
And what do you also think about the location of that monastery, where they are going to? Is it close by or far away?
Probably far
away.
Why do you say so?
Because they were traveling in a horse carriage, horse cart. Otherwise, they would have been walking.
Walking or making independent journeys.
Yes.
So this kind of in-between analytical observations need to be made when you are listening to anybody talking. Of course, most of the time there may not be anything worthwhile to conclude in the dialogues of most of people, no doubt about that. As a researcher, I can vouch for that. But you have to develop and maintain the power of our engines, not because of that, but that is our commitment to our own system. That's our commitment to keep alive the linkages of the referent. This, which you name by the word I. Great lot of people in the world just do not consider the possibility of a new engine at all. They are all doing something when the majority or when the environment or the context or the situation or the event demands them to go somewhere and learn that thing only, come back and do. That's all. That's why they are like this. That's why the normal distribution of human population, only 0.03% of human beings ever reach their near blooming state. This the world of education must consider. The so-called top universities and institutes in the world must consider this psychological theory of the normal distribution of population. I say this. I challenge the top universities in the whole world. Why not they consider developing that 0.03% out of the students and the learners who come there rather than doing the business of what they claim. Don't you agree with me, Dr. That is their true commitment to the world, to the humanity. Because the human beings do not know these are the possibilities. The engines of the human being are not programmed like that of a cat or a bird. that freewheeling intelligence, so that they can fly to any height. Now, if it was programmed, it would travel only through that direction. Like a cat 1,000 years back and now and forever, it will be more or less the same. The bird will be the same. But human beings as of now evolved so-called considerably to this level, though by the effort of the so-called creative people, it is none of their claims actually. They were all imitating or duplicating what is available and consistently campaigned by the systems and institutions and programs. Yes, of course, they were going to a distant monastery, and that journey was to continue for about 3 full days. On the 3rd night only they would reach the destination. These are all details of the reference. You don't need to, or the listeners do not need to visualize the reference of that part of the story. That is kept in mind as a background curtain. For example, if I say once upon a time there was a woodcutter in Japan, you don't have to necessarily visualize once upon a time. It's absolutely subtle. You cannot see what is the referent of once upon a time. You can make a guess, okay, sometime back. That's a descriptive set of words only, which are very essential and very meaningful. But the woodcutter you can imagine, and you can visualize. But if you are directing, or if you want to, if those details are relevant later, you can try to identify the possible, probable artifacts and the setting and the background of that so-called once upon a time. Which many of the historical films do. There's a huge research team, depending upon the story of the film. Even for every story there is a need of research, but still. So, in that first day of the journey, the junior monk was asking or presenting ideas and questions to the senior monk. Here I may have to add that in Japan there is a tradition, even in the normal society, that the senior will not necessarily open a question and all that. The junior has to initiate the talk. In general, especially in the monasteries like that, because the senior holds such an exalted stature. But he doesn't have anything to talk about. He has gone beyond, he has transcended all such details. That is the basic reason, not because they have an ego or anything. But the junior monk, the head of the monastery, considered it as a great opportunity to have a direct interaction with such a reverend, elevated monk. Was also visited by the very emperor of Japan. That level of master he was. Rather, he was most of the time talking to the senior monk. So first night they reached an inn, a kind of a monastery where those kind of monks could be accommodated. Now you are expecting something to happen, right?
Yeah. The girl, we are waiting for the girl.
And that night there was a very heavy rain, torrential rain. By the morning the rain subsided and almost completely halted. So after some time the journey started. You can imagine it was a forest, mountainous forest region. Most of the time the monasteries, not only in the east, even in the west, they were all located in forest, mountainous forest regions, which are not intimidated by normal human activities. Within a short time of their journey, in that mountainous, pathless path, they realized that most of the path was almost disturbed by the torrential flow from the mountainous water. Other parts of the path was really muddy and deep and stones and all that. Nevertheless, the journey continued. Then they saw in a distance a young, as the vehicle was moving, beautiful woman in a very expensive or very luxurious, beautiful kimono, standing there, obviously hesitating to cross a rather long, muddy patch of water. So the cart reached near her. Then the senior master told the cartman, stop the cart. And he looked at the girl, and she understood the message in the eyes of the master. She realized it was a monk. Monks were very well known. They had a unique kimono. So he extended his hands, and within a moment of hesitation, she extended her hands and he lifted her and seated her nearby. The cart continued and it crossed that muddy patch of water. Then they realized that it was a kind of a climb and that watery region is over. And the same way the senior monk lifted her and gently placed her on the ground. And the car started the journey. Now there's a great difference in the atmosphere of the car. What is the difference?
Women always create some excitement or disturbance in the minds of even the most astute Zen
No, be
masters.
clear about it. There are nobody else, only two people and nobody in the surroundings.
But it has upset the balance or the energy.
Not at that level, no, not at that level, of course.
Or it
Other
has,
than that, at a preliminary level, at a sort of, at a manifest level, what do you envisage,
it's
anticipate?
distracted them maybe a little bit.
Pardon me?
It has distracted them a little bit.
Them?
Disturbed the other monk probably.
Which one?
The one
The
who,
junior
the
one.
junior monk.
Why do you think the junior monk would be disturbed?
Many reasons. He must have wondered why the older monk even touched or came in contact with the girl.
Yeah, precisely. You also, both of you are relatively aware, being Indians, the traditions and the rituals and the practices and the principles and the values of the so-called spiritual masters. They are not, especially in the case of Zen, they were not even supposed to think about a female. Though there were several Zen masters among the females in Japan. In fact, Zen is perhaps the only one tradition where there were real Zen females. They were very welcome. But they have to do on their own. Some of the well-known Zen masters in the history of Japan are females only. Yeah. But this was the tradition among males.
Yes.
We don't know much about the conditions laid for the females. Of course, they are capable of that because they are not instinctively driven for sexuality like the man. Of course, there was an eerie silence in the cart. As Dr. Vinay, you pointed out, the young monk was really shocked, absolutely shocked to the core of his heart. What just is happened? What is happening? Anybody among the local population included knows that a Zen monk should not be even walking close to a female. And this Zen master, the senior monk of the entire country, what he has done, perhaps this could be the what you call, obsessive thoughts of the junior monk. He has virtually lifted that girl in her body and seated him nearby him, and then similarly lifted her and placed her. What is it? He could not tolerate. He could not understand it actually. Then why that eerie silence which continued till the evening, till they reached the second monastery? Why? Why he could not say anything?
I think the junior monk couldn't he didn't have words to express his discomfort.
One, two.
Second thing is he was
Out of-
junior to the,
Out of respect,
he did not challenge
the senior
No, challenge and all.
challenge in the sense he did not
question.
not question, he wanted to question, but he felt
It's not
No, he
it's
cannot
not
question.
appropriate. Yes,
He can ask very gently,
Yes.
very gently submit
yes,
his doubt.
Yes.
That definitely for sure.
yes.
Even that he did not have that mindset or the required, he could not gather that required confidence to do that.
Or maybe he couldn't get he could not frame words that were subtle enough to express his question.
That is quite possible. He must have been reflecting on various ways how to present this idea.
Or maybe he was so overcome with,
Agreed. But the question is why he did not talk anything else also? He could not talk. It is not necessary or essential that he should straight away talk about it.
Yeah.
From that relatively early morning till the evening, till the dusk time.
he was so disturbed he didn't think of
One
anything
that
else.
he was disturbed. Okay. Therefore he could not think of anything.
Anything else even. So that whole thing was the only thing he thought of the whole of the day.
He was so much carried away by that and no other thoughts. It is somewhat like the ordinary people.
Yes.
Some serious event happens, he insulted me. Somebody insulted me before two people. The whole day, the whole week, that's being carried.
Yes.
So I have heard about an incident that happened in Maharaja's College, one of the topmost colleges in Kerala State owned by the government, Maharaja's College. To get admission there is almost impossible. Everybody has a good academic record, otherwise they will not enter the gates of Maharaja's College. There a murder happened in connection with an annual function. So at that time, the college is having election of college chairman, arts club secretary, university union council, etc. by political. Now it is banned because of such murders happened. Now politics in campuses is banned. But nevertheless it is continuing. That's a different issue. So after the program organized by a certain political party of the college, everybody participates and all that. And in the night they were all walking towards the hostel, and one guy from the other political party made some negative comment about the program. And these people got wild. There could be altercations, I don't know much of the details there. Anyway, he was chased and these people went to the kitchen and took a knife and broke open the doors and approached him and stabbed him to death. Just for one dialogue. One dialogue makes even a separation of couples. This is language being delivered, and it was carried like this young monk. Even a monk could be so much influenced by a situation and a corresponding gravity. But nevertheless, when such a gravity happens, even a trained monk can be completely trapped by a perception of a situation here, or it could be a dialogue. Okay, in this context, perception of a situation. Then no doubt, so-called normal distribution of population in the world will be infinitely affected by kind of obnoxious dialogues, critical, which the other person cannot accept. That's why team members or couples should be infinitely careful what to talk, what not to talk, how to talk, when to talk. That's why nobody should take the other for granted, so that I can say anything to her. A lot of people just don't understand this. As soon as an emotion comes, they just react. It's an emotional situation and they have the logic and justice to feel good. This is the same thing happens for a rapist and a murderer. Only thing is that these educated people don't do rape or murder, that's all. But nowadays the mental programs are the same. Something is done by the wife, it was not tolerated, one dialogue, two dialogue, three dialogues, four dialogues, 10 dialogue. Okay, then I don't want to live with you. Finished. All just created by language. In that war of language, the referent is completely lost somewhere. As I told you about one of the very close known person in Bangalore, the beginning of the divorce was finally could be traced into a dispute happened and one Saturday morning when the wife said, "You go and buy masala dosa for me." So if one is to master oneself, the number one master required, perhaps the only master required is the mastery on language control, which I call creative language control. In the given context, not to use a language, full stop, just don't talk. A sentence or even a word which is likely to humiliate, intimidate, obstruct at the minimum level. Forget about infuriating and all that. That may not happen in the beginning. That will happen only subsequently. The number one and the easy thing that almost everybody uses is when situations of conflict is to throw out language, abusive language, let us say language violence, which is going on in almost 99% of the homes of the educated people, according to the latest report of the rate of depression all over the world. More than 72% of the adults are suffering from depression. Newspaper report, World Health Organization report. I would say the foundation of that depression is a wrong, let us say, wrong use of language only. Not lack of money or lack of employment or lack of anything. I mean the root. They were traveling through a most beautiful mountainous path with a lot of trees and meandering rivers crossing, and especially, I would say, blessed by the rain. Of course, that part must be over. Okay? Through maybe, of course, passing through little villages of that ancient beautiful times. Okay? It was one full day of journey. It cannot be throughout the jungle. There must have been episodes of the vehicle passing through populated place also where everybody must have looked and bowed. That's a Japanese culture. Even now, even in 2022, they would bow to each other, not necessarily in the monastery, even in public places, in government office and corporate locations. Even that could not alter the, what you call, stuck, like you see in the ancient video playing, you get stuck in the sea. His mental flow, which is spontaneously going at other times, that means when someone wants to stop at a certain thought, it is almost impossible. That much is the spontaneous flow of thought process available because of the live neuronal process in human entity. And in such a situation, he was just stopped at one point. Like it happened that four college union guys, they were all stuck. He himself, let us finish him off. That four or more. None of them had the mindset to consider what will be the consequence of that murder. Like what you call, for the want of a horse, war was lost. Similarly, for want of a little restraint on what to talk at a given point of potential slip of situation, the guy was killed. And so many political murders. In Kerala, in the toddy shops, you know toddy shops?
Yes.
In every room there's a board. do not discuss politics here.
Oh.
And if it happens, everybody will cooperate to stop that person. Because if the politics is discussed, there is very likely some physical, at least, or a murder. Now you know a certain religion and the fundamentalists, whatever is known as the fundamentalists of that religion, they are almost about to, in the name of some concept, they are about to kill a lot of people and take control over nations. Just by some ideology, and that on behalf of the creator of the world. See? For just an idea, they are ready to kill and ready to die. Just for an idea with no referent reality, I am telling the whole world. Prasad Sundararajan is telling the whole world through this YouTube that there is no clarity of the referent or the referent reality of whatever they talk on behalf of their so-called ideologies labeled religion. Let them say. Let them say if they are clear about the referent. Let them say one trace of the referent of so-called word they use. Or anybody uses. So it is all just an illusory game of languages going on at the same time, which will inspire people to fratricide and homicide. And I am telling it is inevitable, so long as humanity is there, it will continue to grow. So world peace and all is not going to happen. Whoever tries it, even if the very God comes here, it cannot happen. So many so-called celebrated, glorified gods have appeared here, according to mythology. Nothing has happened. So nothing sustainable has happened. Because of this mindset, which is evidenced in the Zen parable of the girl and the monks. If even such a disciplined monk cannot contain a language that is constantly disturbing him to deliver, talk this, so that he cannot even talk about something that they see on their way. Through the entire day of their journey. Of course, there is an end to this parable. And by evening they reached the next monastery or inn for their second day of stay. And as they got out into the portico or whatever of that inn, and by that time the junior monk reached the ultimate of this, and he bowed before the master and very gently uttered, "Oh Master, in our tradition we are not supposed even to think about a female. But today you carried a young girl." The senior master looked at him and gently smiled and said, "Certainly I carried that girl and I dropped her there. Are you still carrying her?" And there was a gentle smile on another person.
The cart driver.
Why there was, to begin from the last line, why there was a gentle, unique smile on the face of the cartman? What do you think about that cartman?
But maybe even he's still carrying.
He also,
Might have thought like that.
yeah. Or he was the cartman of the Zen master. So he has learnt
It is
more
not that
lessons.
they just called a cartman. That cartman should have the gravity to conduct the horse of where two sublime beings were there.
So he is a Zen master by
It
himself.
was the cart of the senior monk, definitely. These are the things to reflectively project and conceptualize. Not only, that's why it is called creative analysis. Analysis everyone can do, but from this analysis you should create very boldly, logically consistent, sustainable, defendable linkages. Because that referent is available to you. You can create the reality linkages. Like the pencil, the referent of the pencil is available here. So you can identify some of the possible, probable realities linkage to that pencil. And you can project some undeniable other linkages also about that particular pencil. Now, what are the insights? What are the knowings we can deduce out of this, out of reflecting this parable for the time being? Okay, question number one. Why such a parable was given to the novices of the Zen monastery? What they were supposed to get from this?
First of all,
If you were a monk trainee, let us say so, what would be your deductions from this parable?
first, first it would be made clear to me that thought and touch of women is prohibited in the monastery. It reinforces that fact or that rule or guideline. Second thing is, it goes to show that even a senior monk can find it hard to obey that rule in its entirety. The second part is that the uh, realization that even senior monks have to struggle with that reality of not thinking, touching women. So that even senior monks can be faced with a problem based out of that rule.
Yeah. In other words, the corollary of that is, when there are rules, individuals are likely to be challenged by situations that have linkages to that rule. If there was no rule, it would not have been there.
Because they have to consciously obey that rule, and so the situation is always running in their heads, and so when that situation or that rule is constantly playing in one's head, it's difficult to get away from it. It keeps reappearing, and it becomes very hard to obey the rule in its spirit, because the rule is always looming in front of them, and wherever they look they see that. So it's like very, very difficult for them to stop thinking of the rule. Even if they stop thinking of women, they will think of the rule which that they have to obey. So it takes that much of the mind to be able to follow the rule to its absolute limit.
Alright, we'll have paused.